Welcome. I am Dr. Felice Gersh. I'm your integrative OBGYN doctor specializing in all aspects of women's health. However, I actually also take care of men because I'm double board certified both in integrative medicine and in OBGYN. We are doing an Instagram series and it's all about how to live in the current age, this brand new era that we're involved with, the era of the coronavirus. Today we're going to talk about sleep. A very, very important part of life is sleep. So you may wonder, why does it matter? What happens when you're sleeping? And does it really change the way my health is? Well, the answer is yes. Sleep is not the absence of being awake. It's a totally separate, important state of living. When you're sleeping, you have very different hormones going through your body. Your immune system is quite different. And sleep is not just the same all the time. Sleep is a series of phases. So let's talk a little bit about that. So there's what's called REM sleep, which you may have heard of. That's the time when you're dreaming. And there's non-REM sleep. That's the slow, deep wave sleep. And these phases actually are very carefully choreographed during the time that you're in bed and sleeping. And it's very important to go through them at the times and at the right time of day. So here's the thing. You can't skip sleep. You have to go to bed at a reasonable time. So what's the ideal time to go to sleep? It turns out between 10 and 11 o'clock at night is probably optimal because you have a peak of melatonin around 2 a.m. And that's not the only hormone that's actually coming out at night. I'm sure you've all heard of melatonin, but what about growth hormone? Growth hormone, which has a name that may not really be very applicable when you're an adult. In children, you may have heard this, they grow at night. Growth hormone comes out and peaks while you're asleep. If you're not sleeping, you will not get that peak. So in adults, what does growth hormone do for you when you're an adult? You're not growing anymore. Growth hormone is about rejuvenation. It's about healing. It turns out that everything in the body is circadian. It's relating to the 24-hour rotation of Earth on its axis. And our bodies put out hormones at very different times of the day in different quantities. So I mentioned melatonin is produced predominantly at night. And the cortisol hormone, which is the stress hormone, goes down at night. It has to do that in order for you to function properly. Insulin should be down at night as well. You should not be eating at night. You should be sleeping. And these new lipid signaling agents that are called the endocannabinoids, they are also very low at night. Everything has to be in the right time and in the right place for your body to optimally work. Well, what about now in the time of coronavirus? What does this mean for your immune system? Well, your immune system is also incredibly circadian. And while you're sleeping, you have a very different immune system than when you're awake during the day. You've all heard of natural killer cells. Well, in order to make them properly and to have proper control of antibodies and all the cells of your innate immune system, those are the first responders, the ones that will go into action if you get invaded by the coronavirus. They need to have you sleep in order to make proper amounts of them and have proper functioning. So the immune system is most active in the morning. You've probably heard about that. Like, for example, women who have rheumatoid arthritis will tend to have the most pain in the morning. It's very, very timed. So the immune system is very active in the morning. And why is that? Well, because it's expected that during the day, you'll be very active in the morning. If you think about prehistoric times, they would wake up, they would go hunting and gather food and do everything in the morning. They would eat. Our bodies are most insulin sensitive in the morning. Well, for all of these things to happen properly, you need to have proper sleep at the right time. If you sleep during the day, it totally messes things up. That's why people who work at the night shift workers, have tremendous problem with their metabolic health and their immune system. Women who work at night as nurses, for example, have higher rates of breast cancer. Your immune system is very circadian. And there's a whole new world of chronotherapeutics, like when you take blood pressure drugs, when you have surgery, actually changes their efficacy depending on the time of day. In terms of healing, you will heal differently at different times of day. But all of this requires that you get adequate sleep. So how much sleep is needed? Probably optimal 7 to 8 hours for adults. Now, the adult is 18 and over. So children need far more sleep. Please make sure your kids get to bed and get plenty of shut-eye. They need much more than we do. Babies, for example, infants, can sleep almost 20 hours of the day when they're first born. So adults need less. Teenagers have a little different circadian rhythm. They often like to go to bed a little later and sleep later. So especially now that your kids, your teenagers are home from school, let them live the circadian life that they were designed. Let them stay up a little bit later, but then they should sleep later, okay? So that would be very helpful. Now, what if you say, which many adults say, I have trouble sleeping, I have insomnia, I can't fall asleep. Well, what's the answer? Is it taking a drug, a sedative, like a tranquilizer or a sleeping pill, a pharmaceutical? Absolutely not. In fact, we know during the night is when your brain has the maximum blood flow. Your brain is healing and rejuvenating as well during the night. In fact, it's now been shown that if you use pharmaceuticals, like Zolpidem, the brand name is Ambien and similars, or tranquilizers like Xanax, which a lot of people use for sleep, you actually increase your risk of dementia long term because your brain is not getting sleep in the right phases. You're not getting the proper brain blood flow. So this is not good for you. Do not take those pharmaceuticals for sleep. Now, if you did it one night here, one night there, very rarely, I'm not saying that's going to give you dementia, but it's not going to give you natural sleep. It's a drug sleep. You do not have the right phases of sleep, the right amount of deep wave sleep, slow wave sleep, REM sleep. It's not going to happen when you take a pharmaceutical sleeping aid. What about an antihistamine? Well, a lot of people take them because they're sedating, and other drugs like trazodone, which are sedating. Long term, that's not really good. There's not a lot of data on it, but it's not giving you the proper sleep. For once in a blue moon, perhaps, but not on a regular basis. What I want to start with is giving you an idea of what we call sleep hygiene. It's allowing your body to go through the proper rhythms that it needs so that sleep will be welcoming. So what does that mean? It means light. So our bodies are attuned to registering day and night versus light and darkness. So what do? Well, we live in a world that's just filled with ambient light. We turn on bright lights in our home, and then we have all the blue lights, the screens, all the computer screens, the television screens. I want you to take a pledge right now. You're going to start dimming the lights 2 hours before you are going to go to sleep, and you're going to turn off the screens. But what if you say, I have to work on the computer, I have to watch television? Of course, I don't think you really have to watch television. But if for whatever reason you're not going to pay attention and you're going to do it, then you want to get blue light blocking glasses. I have them in my office. You can get them from me if you want. You can get them plenty of places. They are amber colored and they do block out some of these harmful blue light rays. They're harmful at night because they suppress the production of melatonin. Your body is not going to go through the proper preparation it needs to do physiologically for you to welcome sleep. So please, please, please do not do that. So what else besides turning off lights or dimming lights and turning off your screens? Well, you want to start calming yourself. You want to do things like reading a pleasant book or a magazine, paper, please, not a Kindle version. You want to maybe have conversation. How about that? A lost art. You can actually talk to people in your family who live with you. You can even, if you need to, talk on your cell phone. But please don't start using your cell phone for looking through the internet. That's not what I mean. But you can speak, okay? So connect with people, talk, and talk about nice things, please. I want you to not watch all the news stories about the coronavirus. You only need to know so much. It's not going to change what you do. So maybe an hour a day or read about it on the newspaper, but please don't have the television going 24/7. It's going to stress you out and it won't do anything except harm your health and make it very hard for you to fall asleep and stay asleep. So what are some other things you can do? How about one of my favorites? I do this virtually every night. It's a really hot bath, a soaking bath. You just lounge. You can burn some natural scented candles. You can put some Epsom salts, which is magnesium sulfate. Magnesium is wonderful for calming. You can actually absorb it through your skin by putting in Epsom salts into your bath, like a cup or two scoop. Lavender, hydrosols, that's the water version, or the actual oil. If you don't like that oily feel, then just get the hydrosol, that's the water portion, and just spray it into your bath water. It's so safe, you can use it with infants. And then just soak, really soak. But make the water really hot to begin with, so you start to sweat. It turns out that, first of all, sweating is great for detoxing. There's also some data that heat, like saunas and a very hot bath, actually improves the function of your immune system and helps you to fend off viruses. So that's one of my secret weapons. Is it proof that you're going to not get it because you take a hot bath? No, of course not. But any little thing you can do that revs up and shows that your immune system is working better. And by the way, there is some published data on this. So take a really hot bath to the point of sweating, not passing out, not burning, but just a little bit of sweating, and then soak in it. Soak and relax and let your mind just go to pretty places. Listen to maybe a guided imagery, listen to some soft music, and just relax. There's actually data that if you get out of a really hot bath, you just dry off and then you jump into a cool bed, and I like a little fan on me. It's like an ocean breeze, that's how it feels. It actually helps you to fall asleep really fast. I can tell you, I probably fall asleep in 1 minute when I do this routine. Just give it a try. Now, what else do I do and I recommend? A sleep mask. In my bedroom, for example, there's a lot of ambient light. I don't have blackout shades, and there's light that comes from the outside. I have very comfortable, I've tried many different ones, and you can find ones that you'll like. I wear a sleep mask. This actually is wonderful for blacking out the light. Now, what I do in the morning, because you don't want to go from totally dark to totally bright, that's not natural either. So if you're in a very dark room and it's not going to be light, now it's getting light pretty early, you can actually buy a dawn simulator. What I do is I wake up almost always naturally, and then I take off my sleep mask and I let the room light now that's coming in because the sun's up, and the room light filter through my eyelids. And that is a more natural way of waking up when the light comes through your eyelids. So I usually like to lie like that for about 10 minutes, just resting, thinking about my day, and then I get up and I'm really ready to go. So what if you need other tricks? Well, there are some wonderful relaxing teas that are great. Now, I don't recommend you drink it and instantly get into bed because you might have to get up in the middle of the night to empty your bladder. By the way, let's talk about bladders for just a second, a little deviation here. If you have to go to the bathroom multiple times at night because of your bladder, because you need to go empty it, that's a sign that you may have sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is a very common problem. People who are overweight often have it. Menopausal women have it. Just older men tend to have it. You don't have to snore to have sleep apnea. You can't self-diagnose sleep apnea. And now you can have home sleep apnea tests just in your own bedroom. I've had one. It's very simple and it's all electronically registered. Your brain waves, your breathing. It's like amazing what they can register by having this little device on your head. And then you can have it determined if you do or don't have sleep apnea. And so that's a clue. If you have what we call nocturia, a lot of urination during the night, because that shouldn't happen. That's a sign that you have brain issues, like inflammation going on in your brain that's altering the way things are. During the night, your bladder should have very little filling. That's how nature made it. Nature did not expect people to get up at night to go to the bathroom. That would be very disruptive. You should not have to go to the bathroom for a bowel movement either during the night. Your GI tract should be quiet. your body is a totally different body at night than in the day. So it's like you're two different creatures, metabolically speaking. And at night, your GI tract should be resting, your urological system is resting, and it changes as the sun comes up. And you have to then go to the bathroom, often have a bowel movement. Of course, you urinate, but that shouldn't be happening during the night. Once again, that's a clue that you have a sleeping problem, often sleep apnea. And that is associated with many metabolic problems. If you do not get adequate sleep, you run a significant increased risk for developing obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, dementia, depression, all kinds of mood disorders. Sleep is everything for health. And as I mentioned, your immune system will not function optimally if you do not get adequate sleep. Also, your brain doesn't work right. Your cognitive functions are off. Did you know that as many car accidents occur because of sleepiness as drugs or alcohol? Isn't that amazing? Being tired can impact your cognitive judgment. In fact, some terrible accidents have occurred, major aviation accidents involving, tankers with like oil tankers and such, even cruise ships where they've had accidents because of fatigue and lack of sleep of the person in charge. So you certainly don't want to make bad decisions at this time, right? You want to be totally on your game. So that's why you want to have adequate sleep again. So in terms of drinking the wonderful relaxing teas, I would say drink it at least 1 hour before you go to bed. What I like to do is I drink a big mug of herbal tea, and some of my favorites are kava kava and lemon balm, passion flower, rooibos. These are, and one of my other favorites is tulsi, which is holy basil tea. These are all tremendously calming, and I like to drink it. I love the heat, the drinking of the warm liquid, and then I take my hot bath, then I can empty my bladder, I jump into bed, and I instantly fall asleep. Find the regimen that works for you. This is really, really helpful. There are some supplements, and I'm going to go into this in much more detail. I'll just mention a couple. Don't start with a high dose of melatonin. Start with something very small, like 0.5 milligram or 1 milligram, and take it even an hour or two before you plan to go to bed. That helps to bring on your own melatonin. If you really can't fall asleep, you can try a higher dose, 2 milligrams, 3 milligrams. I usually reserve higher doses for treating when people go across time zones and they have jet lag. Then I usually recommend 6 milligrams of melatonin to take for 3 nights in a row when you get to where you're going. So if you're really exhausted, you feel socially jet lagged because you've been keeping crazy hours, you don't have to be jet lagged because you got in a jet. You could be jet lagged socially because you just stayed up to crazy hours, like maybe something was going on in your life. You can do this for just 3 days in a row. Take 6 milligrams, 6 milligrams of melatonin about a half hour before you go to bed. That will help you to fall asleep. But don't do that higher dose for longer unless you check with like a functional or integrative doctor or a sleep specialist, someone who can really give you some guidance once you start getting above 3 milligrams of melatonin. Other things that are really helpful, I mentioned the teas. You can also get them in capsule form. You can get blends that have these different tranquilizing type herbals. Glycine has been shown to be very helpful. Ashwagandha is very calming. Bacopa is great for anxiety. So there are a whole slew, and I'm going to go into the different supplements in much more detail. I want to let you know, either now or momentarily in the next day or so, on my website store, and my website is integrativemgi.com. I have created supplement packages to help you with sleep. But remember, supplements, their very name, they're supplemental to all the lifestyle things. They never replace healthy lifestyle. So I want to mention a couple more things that can help you with sleep. That is seeing the sun. It turns out that when you're out in the sun, and many of you have probably had this experience, you spend the day outside, you're like going on a ski trip, you're out in the sun, or you're at the beach, or you went to Disneyland or something, you're out in the sun, the bright sun, the whole day long, and then you just fall asleep. You're out on a boat. Also, you fall asleep like so fast that night and you say, I slept like a baby. It turns out that sunlight, when it goes in your eyes, sunlight is like medicine. Sunlight gets in your eyes, it helps you to make serotonin. Serotonin is the precursor to melatonin. So it makes you feel happy. Serotonin makes you happier and calmer. And so you feel better and then you sleep better. It all goes together. So get out. We're not like locked in our homes, even if you're on sheltering at home. Get out on a balcony, go out in the backyard, take a walk outside. Just keep your social distance, a minimum of 6 feet from other people. Just do that and get outside. Exercise helps you sleep. If you're sitting in a chair all day long, you've exerted no energy, you've broken no sweat, that is going to have tremendously negative effects on your ability to sleep. So exercise, take a brisk walk, get out in the sun, take your sunglasses off, get those rays into your eyes for like a half an hour. You're not going to get a sunburn. I'm not saying like you're lying out in the blazing sun, but you need to get sunlight in your eyes. This will really help you. And then I want to end by just mentioning the essential oils. I mentioned we're going to do a whole thing on essential oils, but essential oils, the whole olfactory system, it's amazing. So if you're feeling stressed, get some bergamot essential oil, put on a handkerchief and just sniff it, okay? The scent of bergamot is a citrus fruit and the scent is very calming. It will help you sleep. And once again, you can try lavender. And we'll go into more detail. I mentioned lavender hydrosol. That's the water portion of the plant. And you can just spritz it on your face before you go to bed, on your pillowcase. It's not going to stain. You can spritz it into your bath water. So sleep is essential for immune health. It's essential for everything in your body to go right. So you cannot be stingy about sleep. And you can't drug yourself into a sleep that's going to really be rejuvenating and do the things that sleep naturally does for your body. So forget about the pharmaceuticals. They are not your friend. They are going to harm you. You're not going to get proper sleep. I mean, think of all the tragedies that you've heard of, like celebrities who tried to have general anesthesia to go to sleep. That is not the solution. We have to get back to our natural ways. Eating at the right time, getting sunlight, exercise, and don't forget social connections. Loneliness breeds sleep problems. Stress breeds sleep problems. Don't stay glued to your television. You need to know what's going on, but not every second. Do things that are just for joy. Don't forget, this is going to pass. This is not forever. I call this now the big one. Like I'm in California where there are earthquakes, at least, and we always worry, what about the big one? Well, when it comes to pandemics for our lifetime, this is the big one. And there will probably be aftershocks, but they will be smaller and we'll be able to get through them. The most important thing is you have to get through this, the big one, and you will come out the other side. Life will come back, but you're living now. You know about mindfulness? You have to live in the moment, because this is all we have. So take a deep breath. I'm going to teach you about breath work in the future, but now just take a deep breath, look at the sun, take a walk, look at the trees. They're still there. The flowers are all in bloom now. Enjoy this moment. Have a cup of tea and join me for the next Instagram, which is coming up next week. We'll be posting about the topics and the time. So thank you so much. I don't have anyone helping me today, so I can't easily read your questions because I don't have my glasses. So I'm going to see what I can do to look at some of these, okay? So I have a couple of questions here that I'm going to get to. So one is, what about your bed? Okay, so what's the best mattress to sleep on? That is a great question. You definitely want to have a comfortable bed and a comfortable pillow. But what you don't want is foam. I know many of you love the types of foam mattresses and pillows, the ones that shape to your head. They're actually not good because even though they may seem really comfortable, it's now been shown that they off-gas. They're made from petroleum products. They off-gas styrene, xylene, benzene. You're actually breathing these fumes in, like your face is right into them all night long. Don't use toppers made out of foam. Now, I know these can be expensive, but when you can afford it, please get rid of foam pillows, get rid of foam beds. The optimal would be an organic bed. There are many companies that make them. They're kind of pricey. If you can't get one of those, then just get an old-fashioned spring-type mattress. Just please stay away from the foam, okay? That's really not what you want to do. And then the last question was, what about food? Can I eat before I go to bed? The answer is it's best if you don't. It's been shown that your digestion is not working optimally when you're sleeping. You remember I told you your GI tract should be like resting during the night. So you don't want to eat a bunch of food and then get into bed. That is the way people get acid reflux, GERD. You do not want to do that. So we do not want to eat right before bed. How much time should you let elapse? Well, optimally, you shouldn't really eat after 7 p.m. because you're not insulin sensitive, you're insulin resistant. So you're going to have higher sugar loads, and that's no good. Then you're going to have high insulin. When you have high insulin, and high sugar, that increases your inflammation, risk of diabetes. This is not the path you want to be on. So you don't want to go there. But if you feel like you just have to eat something, make it at least 2 hours before you go to bed, okay? At least 2 hours, and make it something fatty. So what would the fatty be? Like some olives or some nuts, some fatty type of nuts like macadamias or pecans, or a little sliver of avocado, and then hydrate, okay? A lot of times people think they're hungry when really they're just thirsty. So have some of that delicious herbal tea. So that will conclude our Instagram Live for today. I look forward to seeing all of you. Please let your friends know we're all in this together, and we're going to all get through this together. So have a great weekend, and I will see you soon. Take care, everyone.